Hello and welcome back to One More for the Road, a podcast of reviews, retrospectives, and basically anything that I or any of my co-hosts can come up with to talk about. And today we have got something very cool to talk about. It's the Honk Star Rail, the fourth Honk. And I'm joined with many special guests today because Felix sadly is gone forever. No, he's off. He's on a trip this week, so he couldn't record anything. But he will be back next week with a very, very cool episode, and I'm looking forward to it. But I am joined by three absolutely amazing friends of mine, and we'll start with returning guest and frequent returning guest, Zig. Zig, how are you doing today?
Hey, doing good. Y'all have heard me before on the podcast, usually with Genshin, but I have popped in at Arknights and a couple others here. But I'm glad to be back. I always enjoy my time. So.
We always enjoy having you back as well. For the first time here, another good friend of mine, the amazing Puzznut, our resident scholar of the Star Rail and Honkai universe.
Yes.
Hello. Yeah,
how are you?
I guess it is my first time here.
How are you doing?
Yeah, pretty good today.
Awesome.
Huge Honkai enthusiast. I'm looking forward to talking about Honkai.
I'm actually really surprised how heavy you got into Honkai. Because I think, didn't you start Honkai Impact 3rd? Just because you're I'm waiting on Star Rail, I might as well try it.
Yeah, pretty much. But that was still, I think just over a month ago, even.
Yeah, it is not very long ago that you were talking I'm going to get into Honk.
Yeah, it's honestly not a game that takes a huge amount of time to get into, the third Impact one. So, yeah.
Well, I am super excited to have you with me and all of us today. And last but certainly not least, one of the people who started the whole show with me so long ago when we ranted for 5 hours.
Oh, it was 5 hours. Jesus Christ.
It was 5 hours of Xenoblade content, which you can see at the link in the doobly-doo at the beginning of this. One of the co-founders of One More for the Road, LightningRani, thank you so much for coming back. I missed having you here.
I'm glad to be back. I've also been enjoying Honkai Star Rail. It's definitely been up my alley a bit more. I've been a big turn-based person, so I'm happy to talk about it.
I'm super glad to have all of you with me. And now, as we start all podcasts now, I have a top three. Actually, Zig came up with this.
I did. So
you come up with most of them.
And I've had a little bit of advantage here.
Yes. Top three smells.
Oh boy.
Anyone want to volunteer to go first?
Well, I cheated.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and I just started writing stuff down because otherwise I'd be put on the spot and be awkward. So,
damn. All right, Ronnie, what do you got? You cheater.
So lemons or some sort of citrus scent. I always like citrus scents a lot.
I like
that's
citrus.
Kind of my preferred perfume scent as well.
Fresh or artificial?
So I don't mind fresh lemons, but I was specifically thinking of what kind of perfume smells I like, and that's more of an artificial scent, I would say.
Okay.
Put down cardamom because cardamom is in a lot of good foods, and it's just it's a distinctive smell, and it always is really nice to me. And then I couldn't think of a third scent, so I just put down chocolate chip cookies because chocolate chip cookies are tasty, and it's also a great smell. So.
Oh man, fresh baked, yeah.
Yeah, totally. It's always good. Just the chocolate and the sugar and everything. So such a great smell. So.
All right. I will go next. I think Zig, you have yours pretty well figured out, but I think I've got mine.
Yes.
I'm going to say vanilla. It's for a very sappy reason though. When me and my wife first started dating, she made a pointed effort to have all of her perfumes and shampoos and all that stuff smell like vanilla, so that way I would associate vanilla with her.
Such a good idea.
And so I do. And
That's
it's
super
now
sweet.
it's like my favorite smell in the whole world.
That's such a good idea, though.
It's insidious.
Yeah, but it's
And I
also
appreciated it.
you smell that and you remember that that day.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. It takes me back to a very specific set of days. It's wonderful. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say, and this is a very, very specific smell. The smell of opening a booster pack of Magic the Gathering cards from the early aughts to mid 2010s, because
sounds
they
about
at
right.
some point they changed.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's when I played it the most. And I'm like, all right, it's like the fresh card smell is like, but then like I think it was like 2015 to 2017, somewhere in that range, they changed the card stock and nothing smells the same anymore, and I hate it. It's the absolute worst. But
That
I
is
love
so
that
unfortunate.
smell.
Yeah,
It is
I like card smells, but I've never experienced that specific one. So
fair.
It's a good
And-
one.
Yeah. And my last one is sawdust. I something that a lot of people don't actually know about me is that I am an avid woodworker. I love making things out of wood. I actually own multiple like end tables that I've built
I
and
didn't
several
know
shelves.
Super cool.
Yeah, and so like sawdust and like when you just freshly cut into a board, like I also was very into hand sanding things. And I just really like I'll do like the rough sanding with like a machine usually, but like I'll do like the last few runs of sanding like just with sandpaper in hand.
Ooh.
I'm
That's a specific,
very
like,
I'm really
hands-on
particular. I'm very look, it's one of those hobbies I don't get to talk about that often because like who the hell cares? Like I made a table, and they're like, all right, that's cool, but like
That
what do you
should
put
be
on
an
it?
Areopolis Explains at some point. Like just a mini episode on
Look,
your
I've had some sort of like mental breakdown trying to record like this Drakengard episode, and I have thrown away 3 full videos. Like 3
Jesus Christ.
edited, finished videos, and I'm like, no, I can't release this. It's bad. Puzz, what are your favorite
Yeah.
smells?
Puzz.
I think one really ties in to the one you said of sawdust, or pine probably is one of my favorite smells.
Oh yeah,
That's a good one.
Pine's a good one. And then from there, probably like frying bacon, but just about any cooking breakfast food smells.
bacon.
Good stuff.
Bacon is the best meat.
It's
Mhm.
true. And then I guess for like a third smell, the smell after the rain, to be lame.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Okay, no. Hold on. No, you've got it. I actually really prefer the rain smell, like the pre-rain smell.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's that. I don't know why, but that always makes me feel nostalgic, and I don't know for what,
Yeah.
but it does.
The last time it rained, clearly.
I guess, yeah. All right. All right, and now I actually do get to jump scare you with your least favorite smell.
My
The
least.
bottom. See, because this is a thing that if you've been listening to the podcast, you know. But we do a top 3 and a bottom 1.
It's okay. I won't discuss my favorite smells. He can just skip over me. It's okay, guys.
Did we not do Ziggs?
No.
No, you
Zig!
didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we did. I got distracted. Zig,
Well,
do your
now
favorite
it's not
smells.
really a jump scare.
Now they have time, Zig.
Yeah. Okay. I'll
Because
make it
I'm
snappy.
a bad host.
I'll make it snappy.
Okay.
I'll start with the boring one, hyacinths. I just really like the smell of hyacinths. If I have to pick a flower that I'm just gonna sniff all the time, it's gonna be a hyacinth.
Just shoving hyacinths up your nose.
Yes,
I get it.
Yes, exactly. The pages of the book,
that's
new
a good
and
one.
old,
Yeah.
Oh, that's a
they
good one.
both have like, I'll cheat and say both because I like, they both have distinct smells. You know, like if you go into an antique store and sniff an old book, it's gonna smell different than a freshly cracked one. And then my number 1 is a very specific Christmas cookie Yankee Candle. That shit's crack.
Okay.
To me. I always buy
actually-
one every year.
I actually know that smell specifically because I've gotten one of those last year.
Oh, I don't know. There's just something about it that's different than other cookie candle smells. It's just
I
it gets
see.
me. Oh,
I see.
least favorite. Now that's actually
pretty good.
I mean, it's good. There's quite a few, but I don't want to just go like plain gross stuff because owning a dog. I think I can tell you my least favorite smell.
Oh yeah.
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 Oh geez, this is hard.
Here.
I'm gonna
go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say like burnt plastic.
Ooh,
Oh, that's a pretty
yeah.
bad one. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I have this like little plug-in in the wall that kind of is an extender. It's almost like a where you can plug in more plugins. The word it's escaping me what they call
It's a multi-tap
yeah. And
of
it just
power.
it has a really weird like burnt plastic smell to it, and it's not because it's actually burning, because it's when it's not
Dig.
plugged in it smells like that. And like I don't know, it smelled like that out of the package. I don't use it anymore.
Seems more concerning.
I know.
Electricians do not approve of this answer.
No, like I don't know, some of my plastics just smell like that. So like I used it for a little while, and then I unplugged it, and then I smelled it when it was unplugged. I'm like, man, this smells bad. I probably shouldn't use it.
Zig, you're not allowed to bring any of your charge cables if you come visit. I will give you charge cables to use for your phone. I do not want you plugging anything into my wall. You are... What is wrong?
Well, it's not like I don't know, burnt plastic.
I'm gonna go with menthol cigarettes specifically. Menthol cigarettes specifically, I hate the smell of. But it's weird because like regular non-menthol cigarettes, I actually kind of don't mind the smell because my sisters used to smoke around me a ton as a kid.
Mm.
And so it's like, I remember when I was a small child and my sisters were smoking 8 packs a day, and I was just sitting there breathing that in while I was thinking about Pokemon.
Oh my gosh.
Or whatever his 8-year-old Eric did at the time. 8,
I'm sure it was thinking about
12, 10. When the hell did Pokemon come out in the US?
Pokemon.
97?
You wanna know the answer to that?
1990. I remember playing Pokemon like around 1998, but it was probably before then.
Yeah,
I think
I
then it would be 97. Yeah, so 97. So I was 10. Oh God.
yeah. That
Wild.
tracks. Ugh.
Puzz or Ronnie, do either of you have what your worst smell?
I can't think of anything which isn't like really obviously bad smells.
Just
like,
you can pick one of
things that
those.
I'm just gonna say I
love
really
this
don't
game.
like the smell of like strong fish, I guess, but I don't think anyone
Ooh.
does.
Oh.
That's-
Like really strong fish smells. Like sometimes like there's a few times like in my apartment complex, someone would make fish and you could like smell in the hall, and it's just not a very pleasant thing to smell. I'm not really sure it's my worst smell, but it's like a smell that's really bothersome, I would say.
That's fine. It can just be the worst one that you can think of off the top of your head.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I go fishing periodically, so I actually really like fish smells because I'm weird, but whatever. All right, Puzz. Finish us off.
I think I'm gonna have to go the opposite and go for burning food instead of frying bacon. Oh, burning
Ooh,
anything though. Really, I hate the smell of smoke.
That's
Yeah.
super fair.
Acrid smells.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
If it was sounds, my least favorite sound is fire alarm. But
Oh God, yeah. Oh,
Visceral
top
reactions,
3
yeah.
sounds are going to be. That's a good one. I
Ooh,
don't think we've
that's a
used
good
that
one.
one yet. That'll be for next. That'll be next time. Hey, listeners, if you do you have what are your favorite or least favorite smells? Put them in the comments below.
Yeah.
And we have now. It's time for Star Rail.
Honk.
It's time to talk about Honk. How I think we actually talked a little bit about how Puzz got into the Honk.
Mm-hmm.
And how about the rest of us though? Well, Puzz, is there anything you wanted to add to that actually? Before we?
Not really. I basically got into it because of Star Rail in the first place, and then that led me to playing Third. And Third has a pretty clear route to get to the content that prequels Star Rail.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely talk about that because you are very knowledgeable about that particular part.
Yes.
We are not.
Excellent. Ronnie, what got you into Star Rail?
I would say, I'm in a lot of communities which are big about gacha games, and people were talking about it. I heard it was turn-based. Turn-based is generally my preferred version of combat in video games, so that was already like a positive for me. I saw some of the CBTs a few times. The game looked nice. It looked like there's some interesting stuff. But really, the kicker was Alejandro Saab voices a character, and I was like, oh no! And that's why I started playing the game. And yeah, we'll get more into that later. But that was the it was basically like I had mild interest, but wasn't sure if I wanted to commit to another gacha game, and then that was enough to let me get started, and then I played it. I've really been enjoying it. So
yeah, that tracks. Zig,
Men.
Like with all things. I see.
But on a serious note, I'm kind of like with Roddy. As an avid Genshin player, if any of you have listened to the podcast that we've done before, I am a big fan of Genshin. So any of the character designs I'm a fan of. But honestly, knowing a little bit that I do about Honkai 3rd and a very specific character, it got me into it. So I had a fascination with Otto, and looking into Star Rail, there's quite a bit of Otto in here, so he lured me in.
I see. I remember when they did the first teaser trailer for it ages ago, and it was a train in space. And as the one person alive that remembers that Galaxy Express 999 exists, I had to play it because it's a train in space. What do you want? It's a video game. And then I forgot the game existed for like several months. And then like leading up to it, everyone was like, oh, it's gonna be so cool and blah blah blah, and I was like actually not gonna play it. I was like, I'm not gonna play it, y'all. And then someone was like, well, the whole dev team are big fans of the Trails franchise, and they base the combat basically off of it. And I'm like, well, crap. Now I have to play it. And I've actually been keeping up with it, which I'm legitimately surprised by. Because I've basically removed myself from most gachas at this point. And so like the only one I was doing on a regular basis was Arknights. And so for Honk to kind of seep in, it was extremely impressive.
Yeah, the real tell will be in a few months to a year to see where we all are at that point.
I would love to do a follow-up to this at that time. To see where we all are. And so at this point, what are our first impressions? Puzz, what are your like first impressions of this game? What was like your first kind of like reaction to the like, let's go with the Herta space station section?
I enjoyed it right out the gates. I think that it's got an interesting amount of mix of like story being told directly from the gameplay and the dialogue, and like the massive amount of like readables and interactables in the world. And they made an especially interesting choice by putting you in control of a character that has a greater grasp of the world than you immediately, by immediately giving you control of Kafka. And so it's kind of interesting how much of the story they front loaded into like whether or not you interacted with a portrait as Kafka, being like the majority of the information we have available about a whole faction. So I really, really dig the way that they they weren't afraid to load the story like that. I feel it came out pretty strong from the get-go, and I'm enjoying it so far.
I'll agree, actually. Like, I think the intro was like very strong. Like I don't know anything about Kafka or what was it, Silver Wolf?
Silver Wolf,
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I know basically nothing about Honkai universe going into this. I like mostly interacted with Genshin because I'm a casual, clearly. But Kafka is one of those character designs which I'm like extremely susceptible to. For those of you who have interacted with me in Genshin at all, you will see there's a pattern in the characters I've spent money on of Eula, Raiden, who's the third one? Zig, who's the other Genshin person I spent money on?
I don't know who you spent money on. I know you went for Ganyu and
Ganyu.
Shenhe.
Shenhe, there we go.
Okay.
Like, yeah, there's a pattern here.
You got Nilou too. I was like, I don't know which one you spent
I
money
did
on.
get Nilou, didn't I? No, it's the tall, quiet kind of. Yeah, you should have known. It's the cryo ladies. It's my weakness, but yeah, I like Kafka a lot. And so I would like to roll for her now, please. Thank you, Hoyoverse. Thank you for letting me roll for her right now. Thanks. That would be great. What were we talking about? Intro to the game. Oh, real quick. Male or female main character? I picked the female main character because that's who I am as a person. Zig?
I went male.
Oh,
I
nice.
see.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one in this group who went male. Did I? Am I?
Puzz?
Yeah, I went with the female MC just because of Genshin's male PC turning out to be kind of like neglected or mids immediately right out the gate.
I was like,
That's
I'm gonna
super
pick a male and regret it, but I haven't so far.
No, I think they did it better this time.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that they kind of made them theme different. The male protagonist makes both ultis look a lot more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting they have a different style.
I like them both a lot. So you
I
picked
really
the
like
female, Ronnie.
Yeah, I generally default to female avatars when I can in games. It's just kind of how I go. But
That's same here.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Interesting. All right, I just wanted to get that out of the way while I was thinking about it. Zig, how did you? What was your first impressions of the game?
So far, I'm liking it a lot more now that I'm playing it more. Right off the bat, though, I was falling behind because it didn't grab me beyond the combat. I love the combat in this game. It feels so good to be able to just start a combat in that, classic turn-based way and have it feel so smooth. And I haven't played a game with turn-based in a while. So it was refreshing to me. So I liked doing the combat, but everything else, I was just like, it feels so stiff. As someone who puts several hours a day into Genshin, it felt so stiff to be able to only, the space station really isn't that big, and I can't climb on things, and I can't move, and the character movements feel stiff and not as lively. But the more I've played with it, the more I've gotten used to it, and it makes so much sense for that. But I really didn't get grabbed until a bit further into the game. But first impressions, I've been enjoying it a lot. It's definitely a different game than Genshin, and that's
very
good.
different. Yeah,
it's good, and I wouldn't even say it's bad. I think it's very good that they have this sort of new experience for people. Maybe it gets more people to RPGs.
Yeah, hopefully. Ronnie.
So I would feel like I saw some of the stuff in the early from the CBTs. So I kind of like watched a little bit of to just kind of get an idea of what was happening. And I would say I would say my personal opinions of plot was like it was fine, but it was nothing that really grasped me in the beginning. But what kept me going actually the small, really random details in the game. There's like just like what was there's the one that's coming to mind, which is part in the game than when I'm thinking about there's stuff on the space station as well, is like you can look into trash cans. And trash cans have so much character. And like there's like a mini side quest, like there's like an unmarked mini side quest thing. It's not even, you don't really get a real reward at the end, like there's like an achievement associated with it. But like looking at trash cans enough. And you couldn't see that in Genshin. And just like these small stuff, like those kinds of things just kept me being like really engaged with it, because it just felt like there was more life in the game. I think the other thing which also Yeah, and I think the other thing that also called out to me which was also really nice to me, was like it felt like these characters, like when we went to, I'm going to make this Genshin comparison right off. When we go to Mondstadt, we meet these characters, but they're not really engaged in our party. Like they're there, they might appear once in a time. Like there's Amber who was there, like maybe Jean appears, Kaya appears once in a while, right? But the Astral crew is like essential to the story. They're part of the story. And we see their interactions, they're with us, and it makes them more as characters. So it just felt like it was much easier to like make those character interactions. So I think that's what's been kind of keeping me in there, was that and the plot's been getting interesting now, and like all that other stuff, like the initial kind of small details in the character interactions, what's been really keeping me interested in this game. So
I think that that's actually a really interesting thing, because we basically do have a pretty traditional like JRPG party dynamic going on, and the game is really wearing its older RPG roots like on its sleeve, and it's using that strength really well. And this is a phenomenal segue into looking at like parallels and differences with the other Hoyo games like Genshin and Honkai 3rd. So like character building and like raising, I feel like is pretty like I think they've got a system it's pretty similar to Genshin.
I feel like they have a skeleton with their games.
I actually don't know how it goes in Honkai.
Puzz, you'll have to answer that one.
Honkai's just kind of on a different system where it's generally pretty easy to level up characters until you start getting in the characters where they have skills locked behind constellations, basically, where you have to get massive amounts of extra fragments of them to get their like letter up, and then they unlock new skills. So like most regular characters, like the ones you start with, aren't exactly a lot of investment comparatively to gameplay time, comparatively to Genshin and Star Rail.
Interesting.
It's just kind of a different. It's like more limited by like the mobile game style of the like where you can't level your character past your literal like captain level, like your count level, on a 1-for-1 basis instead of like the equilibrium or world level system.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I remember this vaguely. Yeah, because like your captain level is roughly tied to, I think, story progress, but also like a lot of other stuff increases it.
Yeah, like a lot of your dailies are basically where you get the vast majority of your experience, comparatively to like whereas you get like 1 experience per stamina spent and like 5 experience per stamina spent on story. So like it's you get a lot of experience in your like dailies and weeklies more than like, you know, actively playing the game anyway.
It feels like they've learned a lot. You know, that was kind of my first impression. Another one when I started playing this, like, oh yeah, they've done this and they know what works best.
Yeah,
you know, they've learned from Honkai and Genshin, and they've added to that. You know,
I'll give it one example what I'm thinking of. So like, you know, in Genshin, when you have to farm all these like low character drops, right? Like there's like like it's like you beat up the Eremites and they give you the scarves and you get like a bunch of those to help your characters, right? Well, now in Star Rail, you can automate part of it, right? You have the assignment system. And the assignment system, one of the assignments you can do is send your characters off to get these materials. So like that's basically what I've been doing. It's just like, oh, I have low amounts of these materials. I'll just have these guys go out, and then like, you know, I just passively get some of these drops, which I don't know when I'll need them, but like I don't have to actively farm them and go out and kill the enemies. So that feels nicer. Like, to be fair, the gameplay system is a bit different with the spawns and all that stuff. So maybe that was kind of a requirement, which is how that was changed as well. But it's also just nice that you can just I just send these characters off, and when I come back and log in the next day, I get materials that I'll actually use versus like food.
Well, yeah. Well, you can also transfer, like you can transmute those
true.
drops 2-to-1 to any other mat. And so like they have, I think there's 4 of the mats are available through assignments.
It does increase with story progress. That's all.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't know that. So, like, I didn't have access because I don't have access to 1 or 2 mats that I know characters use. So, if you get that later, that's great, actually. So, I should do more story. But yeah, like, I have a ton of 1 that I've been running, like, just the 1 assignment because I keep forgetting to switch it. And so I have like 300 of that mat, and so I've just been transferring it into things I don't have, which has been phenomenal. And you can craft anywhere.
Oh yeah. Crafting anywhere, assignments anywhere, being able to turn in your dailies anywhere. The daily system being much more freeform, giving you multiple objectives. You just have to reach a certain value, with some things giving you more points than the others, but you can still technically ignore certain things. Like, there's definitely a lot more freedom with how to do kind of your daily tests. Being able to spend like kind of a little bit more automation with how you spend your resins for the farming. So you can repeat your teams, for instance, and that's useful, especially since in Honkai you can do a support system. So you can be like, oh, I picked the support already. I just want to redo it with the exact same team I just did. Mm-hmm. And so like there's a bunch of stuff like that that's kind of useful for, I guess, just to make it a little bit easier for people to play with.
Yeah, so. There's so many nice quality of life things.
Oh, and then the other thing I think I'll mention is more 4-star weapons basically being available for players to just get passively. That was definitely a thing. Like, if you think about usually free to play weapons in Genshin are the 3 stars or the craftables, which is very small. But there's definitely like they give you a lot more. Like, you have to still craft the weapons, right? They're not like just given to you outside of events, right? But in Honkai, at least right now, there's a lot of ways you can just get them for free, or you can even buy some. So it just feel like they're trying to make it a little bit more accessible to have people have some of the stronger, like at least more options available to them. We'll see how it is long term. I mean, obviously, we'll have to see if we get like event specific light cones or things like that as the game goes on. But right now, it seems pretty good.
That's super fair. What do we think about like the character designs? And I'm actually really wanting to compare the character designs to Honkai 3rd, because I feel like there's like a more direct line from Honkai 3rd to Honkai Star Rail, because Genshin definitely has like a more fantasy lean, where Impact and Star Rail are obviously a lot more sci-fi. Puzz, take it away.
Yeah, a lot of the characters are sharing an pretty exact color scheme and get up from where they are in Honkai. Nat, for instance, is basically wearing the same type of bodysuit, just different haircut, and doesn't have claws for hands.
The claws are for healing.
Yeah, she instead carries a grenade launcher
for healing.
For healing. So yeah, it's a lot of the design parallels are there. For characters, Welt's literally wearing the same clothes because it's Welt from Honkai 3rd Impact, literally.
Yeah. Literally the same dude.
Yeah, and so like Seela is wearing her same like blue color scheme that she has in 3rd. One of the Aeons is based on a 3rd Honkai character. The Aeon of Abundance is directly based on a Paulina, one of the characters in 3rd, which is kind of interesting that they've used that as a design feature.
Cool.
But because Honkai 3rd Impact characters are largely all like battlesuit wearing alien fighting characters, a lot of their like design elements haven't been ported over, which is probably for the best.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, Honkai 3rd's mostly like, well, like you said, it's bodysuits.
Yeah.
We see a little bit of that. Like, Seela is still wearing like basically a leotard with a bunch of extra stuff attached to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shorts plus accessories.
Yeah, that's an outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's armored on one hand to the elbow. That's good enough.
That's enough armor. Just block everything there. Duh. Don't get hit
Exactly.
anywhere else.
If Wonder Woman can do it, I can do it.
Exactly.
If you kill everything before it hits you, you don't need the armor.
Damage is
that's
the
definitely
best.
that's definitely your philosophy right there.
Damage is the best form of healing.
Yes.
I mean, that is why most people's medic has a grenade launcher.
Mm-hmm.
What do we think about the main character's design, and why is the hoodie just peak fashion?
It's a very comfy feel. I do. It just, I don't know. It's. I don't really have any large thoughts on it, but it feels comfortable. I wish she had pants, but that's kind of a ongoing complaint with Gacha right now. So
No one wears pants in Gacha. It's illegal. Hashtag pants for everyone.
I'm just a big fan of both the designs, both main characters. I like when I first started Genshin, my very first account, I started with Ether and later went with Lumine with my main account. And I much prefer Lumine. But in this game, I really like them both. And I very much enjoy looking at the main male character. So
A thing I've noticed is that fan artists actually use the dude. What's the dude? What are the main characters' like canon names?
Stella for the girl and Kalius for the guy.
Kalius?
Yeah,
it's
Salus, something.
Caelus. I'm not sure how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
But that's how.
All right, I'm just gonna continue to refer to him as the male main character now.
Oh, okay. So I just Googled Kalis, and that's the god of the sky in Roman mythology. So there we go.
Oh.
Because I was like,
Wow.
Stell's. I was like, oh yeah, Stell's like off stars, right? Because of Death Show. That was pretty obvious to me.
That makes
I was
sense.
just like,
Oh yeah, it's Stell, not Stella.
well, yeah, but Stella,
With an E.
Stell, similar root. So I was like,
Yeah,
star.
Yeah.
I just was remembering that it's with an E, not an A. I forgot.
Yeah, I couldn't remember because
Yeah, it's so much harder. Like Aether and Lumine, like that's pretty easy to remember. Aether, like the name, not the character, but like Kalius, I'm never gonna. I will not retrain that to the end of this podcast.
I will because he's a man and.
Yeah, I know. This is what you're all about. Anyway, no, I love the main character's design. I love the shirt, like the top of the shirt has this like little, I don't know, like I don't know if it's like a t-shirt and like it's just got a bunch of weird folds, or if there's like an extra layer or something going on up there. I don't know. It's comfy. It's like Ronnie said, it's comfy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan. I don't like light cones.
I don't either. Like, don't get me started on weapons because I'm gonna rant. I just do not like them.
On one hand, I get it. Like, it lets every character have their signature weapon. Like, if the game somehow made it so I had to take away the main character's baseball bat for any reason, it would have to be a very good reason.
Yeah.
Which, yeah. Anyway, like, but no, like, I get it. Like, it lets every character have their own main weapon. They get to have a signature weapon. It greatly simplifies animation because they don't have to have like cutscenes where the traveler's working with a dull sword.
Yeah.
And you've got like some cool weapon and they don't have to pre-render, figure out how to pre-render all of that stuff. That's still one of the things that drives me the most insane, because you start the game with the Harbinger of Dawn. Why not give them the sword that looks the best in their hands? I'm sorry. I will never not be mad about that. Let's talk about the combat though, because we're talking about weapons. I love the combat because it's literally just Legend of Heroes combat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
I love
great.
The combat. It's great. I love it.
Yep.
I'm very bad at it.
Big
Me
fan.
too.
The combat scratches a fun itch with me. Yeah.
I feel like there's like some aspect of the combat that I'm like not understanding, or maybe it's like some aspect of character raising that I'm like ignoring.
Same.
And because like I feel like I have one character, and maybe it's just like the fact that like characters actually feel like the DPS tank healer trifecta. Like maybe that's the thing, because I feel like only one of my characters does any damage.
Is it the hunt character? Because that would probably,
it's the hunt or the destruction character, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, go on.
No, I just feel like I get it, my healer's not supposed to do damage, but like it's so small.
Yeah. I guess that'll be the one thing I say that I don't really like about this game that I get from Genshin, and I'm glad that they don't do it, because like I'll keep comparing because Genshin is my point of reference here, but I understand why things are done differently, and I like that they're done differently, but I can still complain. I don't like being able, like, okay, so this is your healer character, and that's all they're good for. Like, you can't use weapons and artifacts to really make a huge impact. They're always going to be like the healer. I know DPS Baiju here talking, but you in Genshin you can basically turn any role into a role that you want, and here it's just
yeah. Like Puzz, you're a lot. Again, you're significantly further and more advanced than we are in this. Is that like, does that still hold true even with like being able to do a lot of good artifacts? Or
I think in terms of like when you're looking at like will a healer do anything but heal, I think that comes down to their kit, and I just don't think we have enough characters released right now to really make an objective long-term statement. But with what we have right now, yeah, I think like Nat's not really ever a damage dealing character unless there's like a character that like has a really squishy break bar to physical. At which point that's just like because you have the weakness and not so much because Nat does damage.
Yeah.
But people who aren't just damage dealers do become more useful the further into content you become power-wise outside of Simulated Universe. Because Simulated Universe you can get away with anything because of the blessings.
That's true.
Your team comp is like what's going to work is more limited to RNG and your own creativity than the game at that point.
Yeah.
But for Forgotten Hall, where you're limited to like main game and no food, yeah, I think you're gonna see things outside of your sport character because your Sela isn't just gonna wipe everything in that.
I know, but I like it when my Sela wipes everything.
Me too.
That's my favorite thing. Things are lost in the sea of butterflies, and then she just loops for 20 turns. It's the best.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's a good time.
I like on one hand, like I like the openness of like other RPGs, and I compare Star Rail a lot more to other turn-based RPGs than Genshin specifically, where like because I guess I have a lot more experience.
Yeah, it's a better
turn-based
RPGs. For you.
Yeah, it's a better frame of reference for me because I've done nothing but think about turn-based RPGs for like a year and a half. But like, I think that character like having them be narrow in their roles, especially again, this is really early in the game. Like, I get it. I do. I actually kind of appreciate it because I'm definitely the kind of person that tries to force people outside of the bubble, and it just never works correctly. And the game is like, no, do it right, you idiot. And that helps.
Yeah, it helps me. That's for sure. Because like
it's trying to teach me. Yeah, it's trying to teach us good habits for later when they're probably going to release more complicated characters.
Yes.
And I'm trying to learn them, but I'm also I'm just gonna kick and scream the whole way. It's like I want my healer to do damage.
Yeah. I agree with you, Eric. I agree.
But no, I yeah, like I'm slowly I feel like this is the game that's finally going to teach me how to actually do tanking. and I'm kind of miffed about it.
I agree. I agree.
But I do love like the action bar system, which they've lifted out of again another lift out of other turn-based RPGs. I found out that you could turn on the thing that has numbers. So you actually have like the actual timings. So if you pay attention, like you'll remember how much time a move takes for a certain character. So like you'll be like, okay, well, if I use the basic attack, it's like 12, but if I use their skill, that's like 20. And if I do this way, blah blah blah, like you'll learn like how much faster different things are, and it really opens up.
Oh, I need to do that.
Like the strategy.
Yeah, I need to do that. I did not know it existed.
Yeah, I feel like it's somewhere in the settings.
I'll look.
I just feel like the game is trying to teach me how to be good at video games, and it's working. Let's talk about though, like just like kind of like the world, like exploring it and like kind of like the world building and lore they're doing, because they kind of toss a lot at you right at the beginning. Like, they're like, oh my god, here's the Stellaron. It's super cool, and we're gonna shove it in the main character, and nothing bad will happen.
Yeah, it feels a lot more in your face than Genshin started out. For me, both games started out very slow, but Honkai started out with more of a punch. You know, it hooked me. It hooked me a little better. I'm interested in the whole Stellaron thing, you know?
I actually really liked, because they kind of just started us right in the middle of like a heist, which was super cool. And then the perspective switch away from Kafka to the main character, and then meeting the Trailblazer crew, the crew of the Astral Express. There we go. I can remember words and who people are. I promise I'll do one podcast where I remember all the names and everything.
We'll get there.
I lied. But yeah, like I think like this is probably like this is a good RPG intro. Again, it's there isn't a sewer level
yet.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I'm waiting. I need the sewer level. All right. But yeah, like I think I really actually kind of like exploration, where there's like safe areas and then areas where you can expect enemies, and it tells you if you're where you are, but it all kind of like just flows together. But there are like obviously like maps. It's not open world. And I feel like this would be I feel like it would be a little overwhelming if it was open world.
It'd be too much. And I to be honest, I think Genshin would be a little too much if I started right now. Just having way too much open world to explore.
I thought about that, and you can walk to the desert.
Yeah.
At like level 5.
Yeah.
Like as soon as the game like lets you go, you could just walk to the desert in Genshin.
Yep.
That's insane.
It's a lot.
Like I do not know how onboarding would work for Genshin right now. It looks awful.
Yeah.
Like it's too. I would be overwhelmed instantly.
So the structure here is really nice. It did, like, I was like, I feel so confined, but I like it in this game. Like, I wouldn't like it in Genshin or something else, but in here, everything that I'm complaining about works so well that it's not really a complaint. It's just kind of like a.
I think because the square footage is also a lot smaller, it allows them to add more like small details.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah.
Like you said, there's like you can look at all the trash cans and they all have different messages.
Oh, and I will
And-
say,
Yeah.
sorry. It kind of
Go
goes to that point though. It plays much better on mobile. I really don't mind popping Honkai open on my phone and playing around with it and exploring and doing the story if I'm out and about. But with Genshin, I feel very like I'm logging on to get my dailies done and pop my resin so I don't overflow. But this game
Mhm.
just feels like it's a lot better formatted for mobile.
Mhm.
I think it also just doesn't set your phone on fire, except for the lag room.
Yeah,
Well, the lag room is special. We'll
The
see.
lag room, hold on, I do want to talk about the lag room. The lag room is one of the last things you interact with in World 1. And it's the room where they put all the lag. Like all the lag from, so because they have, the Genshin Impact, and Genshin Impact has all the lag and all the heating up of your phone and whatever. And they were like, all right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to put it all in one room, and then you're just going to spend like 10 minutes in that room, and then that's where all the lag is, and then and then it gets rid of all of it in the rest of the game.
That's definitely how that worked, yes.
It made my computer like stress. Like I was slowly watching as like all my gauges, like the GPU, the CPU, everything on my computer was freaking out. Like if you see my stream, I did a stream where I was in the lag room and the overlay was freaking out.
It was impressive.
It was wild. I love the lag room. Thank you for the lag room.
Yes, thank you, Hoyoverse for the lag room.
Puzz, what do you think about like the quests?
I'm enjoying it so far. I'm more in the give me more phase because I've literally done them all, unfortunately. But they've done a good job with them. But like I enjoyed the Genshin quest that I did when I was playing it. Like I think they do make pretty decent quests at Hoyoverse.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's been a decent variety though, considering what we have for a launch game in terms of like what you do in a quest. So I think they've done a pretty good job of that for the launch.
No, go ahead.
I guess that's a good thing. I guess I want to point out, like, just compared to Genshin launch, there's definitely a lot more content, at least to start off. Like, even ignoring the fact that I think they sped up how fast you get like levels ups and things like that. It feels like the beginning of what they released, which was a lot more substantial, which is nice because like I've been playing kind of like semi casually, frequently, but not like consuming all the content immediately, and I still haven't hit the end of the content that they've released yet. And so it feels like it's just been better, at least with the initial release, for what people can consume.
Well, I will say, in Genshin's defense, kind of, it's kind of annoying. It's not so concentrated. So like with Genshin, you'd have to be out in the world and then you'd suddenly run into a world quest.
That's true.
I like that Honkai's more compact, so you're eventually going to run into that world quest. It's not like you're going to spend a couple hours running around an open world and then just run into it like 2 months later. So yeah, I do like that, even if I'm not as invested into the contents of the stories lately. I do enjoy just being able to find them much easier.
Yeah, I also like that a lot of them we get just through like random text messages. I love the text messages.
The text messaging system. Oh my gosh.
It's kind of wonderful.
It's got so much personality. It adds so much personality to the characters, and even these random side characters that'll shoot you a text. I love it.
I also like that the main character feels like they actually have a little bit more personality as well. I don't know if that's just the fact that I'm picking all of the as chaotic / trolly options as possible, where I played a lot more straight.
Yeah.
In Genshin. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I feel like there's more options for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. And the fact that they use stickers.
Yes.
They use stickers and emotes. It's like they're real freaking conversations. I I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. Like the characters are getting developed, and it's great. It's nice. I don't know. It feels
it's
good.
done well.
Mhm.
A lot of times in these games, it feels a little contrived.
Mhm.
But I think they're doing a good job with flow and stuff.
Yes, I agree. Actually, I have a question, Puzz. You've probably done your daily quest like every day, right?
Yeah,
Have you hit a repeat yet?
I'm
I
thinking.
haven't had a repeat on the green quest yet, but I've done like a bunch of chains where they're like 4 or 5 days long.
Yeah, I think they almost all are. Because
Yeah,
I've only had chains so far.
same.
I might have had one that was like a single day.
Yeah,
But,
I've had like one or two one-offs, and then like usually they're pretty decent chains.
Yeah, like I was just wondering like how many daily quests there are. Even at the like for launch, like I wonder if they have enough to last them until the next patch.
So I think, interestingly enough, I know one of the daily quest chains I have was definitely locked behind me doing a story quest.
Oh, interesting.
And I won't go any further into that because I don't know if you've done the quest I'm talking about. But basically, so it's possible that as you just do more content, you'll just unlock more dailies as well. So like maybe like people like one things they did keep, which we could argue is I don't know how we feel about it, is like there are level gates on doing the story, right? So people eventually hit a story level gate, and then maybe they'll see their quest log and they'll do quests, right? And that might just be a way that will kind of refill their daily so they don't see repeats. We'll have to see when someone finally gets a repeat, or if people notice they get a repeat, they might not just notice at all. But it's possible that that's another way that we'll just keep on seeing new content just as we play and we do these quests. More dailies will kind of be put into like the queue for us to see eventually. So.
Yeah, that's because that was something I didn't even think about it being duct taped to story either. Because it's like, oh yeah, there's like whole places I haven't been, like towns and areas.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Feel like if you didn't push like your story and you just like kind of did dailies and burned stamina and were really casual with the game and only did stuff you could like auto and you were still on like the first planet, you might be able to hit repeat story. But I have a feeling someone who's like actively finished everything will probably not have a repeat on those greens before the release of content. But that comes down to when do they release content and what do we get from that content.
Yeah, because this is being recorded pre any sort of post-launch patches.
Yeah, we are
there's
on 1.0.
There's no major content patches.
Even before part 2. So
yeah,
and at this rate, we probably like 1.1 will probably come with the end of the next banner.
yeah,
and so it's quite likely that we literally don't get anything until then. And then what we get then becomes the question. Like what our first event's going to be. Do we get a web event? Question mark. Maybe not, because the one that came before launch lasts until the mid-June.
I need to remember to do that because there's like a good weapon duct tape to it.
Yeah, it's a Serval Lightcone and Erdition Lightcones are all kind of oof. So it's always nice to get another one.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, like, yeah, we haven't had any events or any like limited time stuff, so I'm really curious how the game's going to handle it.
For 1.0, that makes sense. I wouldn't want to start off with something limited. We already have, like, looking back on it in Genshin, we already have Feels Bad's Battle Beto's best weapon being locked behind a limited event that's never going to run again, right? I think it was. So as long as they don't do limited weapons for maybe like, I mean, even then, like if they're going to do, I don't really want them to do limited weapons unless they have like a clear path or how new players are going to get it after it runs. So we'll see how if they actually decide to do that, because we actually don't know, right? But
I feel like
I wouldn't mind if my last thing is I would hope that with the second banner coming up we get something, but I don't know if they've actually announced that or if we're just gonna. It would be nice to get some sort of eventual new content, but we'll see what happens.
It's hard to say because like maybe there is already an event cooked into the game and they could just turn on. But I doubt it at this point, but we'll have to see.
It is interesting. Last thing I wanted to touch on before we move on, like we have a note, Aeons versus Archons. Like, how do we feel like the Aeons are a lot more like conceptual, because like Archons were just like some people with cool
I mean,
powers.
technically, they both have concepts associated with them, but it definitely feels
True.
like I was the one who made that note, but I just kind of want to put that as like a discussion point because like they're both technically kind of the gods of the universe, right?
Yeah.
And both of them are based off conceptual ideas, though the Archons obviously are less. I would say they're less tied to it than the Aeons are.
Yeah, the Aeons are. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I guess I don't really know where else I'm going with it. We definitely have more Aeons than we have Archons. The ideas of like what they're supposed to do, I think, are different than what Archons are in Genshin, and it doesn't feel like there's like a set number and things like that. And the way we get lore on them is definitely a lot different. There's we can get like, for instance, Simulated Universe has lore on some of the people in there, and we'll probably get lore on various Aeons during story as well. So it's interesting because I don't think there's any guarantee. They're also not probably going to be playable ever. They're just concepts at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, like I mean, okay, let's be real. If you've seen what the Hill of the Aeon looks like, I'm not sure how they're going to make that playable. Just putting that out there.
I just want one, and we can fix the flaws.
Look, I just want to play as Iha. All right, I want that. I need that elation path, Aeon. Because I would like the physical embodiment of trolling to just be a character that I can play as. That would be great. I think it's interesting because, like you said, they are a lot more tied to the paths, like the different, like, I guess, classes of characters. So, like, in like, unlike the Archons, who like are like extremely powerful wielders of like a single element, but the like the Aeons are like literally like a manifestation of a concept. Like, they're not like it is a really interesting difference. I'm looking forward to see like how kind of like, because I haven't done nearly enough Simulated Universe, so it's going to be interesting to see like how that works moving forward. Does anyone else have anything on like the world building, like exploration we wanted to touch on?
I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover.
Awesome. Last thing we kind of have before the last bit, Gacha, the Gacha system itself. First off, I want to start this section with how I start every section on Gacha. Don't spend money on Gacha unless you're able to and it's comfortable. Like, don't, like, if you're gonna spend, don't spend more than you absolutely can. Like, don't. Gacha is bad for you.
It is. True. Speaking from experience, it is.
It physically hurts me to do so all the time. But we have the spare funds, and if you don't, then don't spend money. But fortunately, this game's been really generous at the very opening, at least, with its currency. At least it feels generous to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Like, I feel like I'm the only one who feels like it's not enough. Like, I'm not okay. I'm not gonna. Not enough sounds like really greedy, and that's not what I mean.
No,
I guess like pulling from how much I started off with Genshin as compared to early game here, it just doesn't. It feels like a lot less. So I'm like in panic mode. Like, oh my gosh, as someone who's not actively spending in this game and doesn't want to actively spend, I'm like, okay, I have the daily pass or whatever, the monthly. And I will be getting the battle pass, but even then, I feel like I'm like, oh, I don't know. This doesn't feel like an awful lot.
Yeah. If we're comfortable sharing, actually, how are all of us treating this game? I'm definitely going on the cheap to play, like, battle pass and monthly card plan. I do not have intention of buying like actual currency.
Yeah, I'm battle pass And I keep calling it Welkin because from Genshin, that's all my.
What is it called in
remember.
this game?
Yeah, I don't know what it's
rail
called.
pad?
Daily supply card.
Daily supply card. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so that, and I will spend on. There's a couple characters I will get no matter what. But I want to keep that down to a very minimum. So I'm like just not spending all that much because I'm tired of spending money. No, I'm tired.
Hoyo makes men that are just exactly Zig's type, so it's a problem.
Listen, they saw me simping for Auto and they said we got her.
They said bet.
Yeah.
Puzz.
So far, I'm just on the battle pass and the supply card. I don't know if that'll change in the future. I'm not about getting spare copies of characters, so I will probably avoid spending too much money for the considerable future.
Fair enough. Ronnie?
I was trying to stay free to play, and then I gave up recently. So I just bought the monthly pass. Waffling on the battle pass, I'll probably pick it up, and then I might just I don't even when I do spend money, it's usually just I'll probably buy like maybe the doubles. I'm not gonna. It's more like I know what's coming up on the banners. I know what characters I want. It's just bad timing, and then I feel like I should be fine after the first few months, and then I should probably go back to free to play from that.
I hope.
Yeah, we
all. I know what I'm planning to skip, and so I feel like I'm okay. But we'll see.
I know like one or two banners that I'm like, all right, I will save up.
Well, technically 1.1 has been announced. The characters on that. At least it was announced in Billy. I don't know if it's been announced globally.
Yeah, I think it'd be okay to discuss the 1.1.
Oh, yeah. Who's 1.1?
1.1, we got Lu Chao, and then we got who's the other 5-star? I didn't pay attention past that.
Is it Silver Wolf?
Silver Wolf, and I think Silver Wolf's first.
Lu Chao, and then the 4-star is Yukong, who is an imaginary character, which is only important for an internal meme that we don't need to talk about. Yukong's a girl.
Oh no! Men aren't imaginary.
Yeah,
I missed that meme.
Yeah, so with Lucha, like right there in my face coming, I think that's what kind of brings me back to the whole. I don't feel like I have as much as I did in Genshin, but I don't know.
No,
I know Ronnie was making a point there, and we kind of cut her off. So, do you remember what you were going to say, Ronnie?
My point is, it feels like I mean, honestly, when I look at like as a person who doesn't play Genshin a lot and doesn't whale, you don't get a lot of roles just by playing casually.
Yeah, well, I just meant like right off the bat. I don't know.
Like right now, I think my Jade count is at 1,300. And I do have been getting a lot of achievements, so I feel like I can get like. If I wasn't playing to roll on the Junyuan banner, I probably could have hit 1,600 by the end of it. So it just probably depends on like how active you. And I just bought the daily pass like yesterday, so
okay, that's very fair because I am also a welcome battle pass in Genshin, and I know from the end of the Wanderer banner. Up to my whaling session in Baiju, I had like 100 or almost 200 rolls just from playing.
I mean, if you look at, I'm pretty sure like if you just look at like normal Genshin predictions for free to play players, you might get like 100 rolls per patch.
Yeah.
So I think the calculation for this was on par with what Genshin was. What I was going to say was that they've been giving you a lot more story rolls. Definitely is what I've been feeling like, which is good for two reasons. The beginner banner has a higher ceiling for how many rolls you need, right, compared to Genshin. So getting more story rolls for that is nice. But just getting more story rolls for like the other banner is also nice because it just gives you more access to characters. And like one thing which I feel like was issue in Genshin is like if you weren't rolling, you just had like your beginner starter characters, which wasn't helpful because they weren't that great. And at least here the starter characters are fine, so it's not as bad of a big deal. But like from just story rolls, I've gotten 2 characters. I've gotten a few characters. Some of them were Eidolons, which kind of sucked for me, but like they were actual characters who I could have then built and used to put on my team. So I feel like at the very least they're giving you a better possibility to have a good starting team. The gacha rates being what they are, it's like not guaranteed you're going to get like everyone you want and all that stuff, but there's some good stuff built in for at least the story roles that feel good. Not going to comment on like the actual stuff for the for the limited roles, though. The fact that they did give you 10 roles for the daily login for the limited was a nice touch.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't big, but it's a nice touch at least.
Okay,
we'll also see how things play out over time. Like,
that's something I'm curious about. Is like, will I feel that way? I think it's just that you get more from exploring because you don't have as much to explore, so you're getting a little bit more dripped in other ways. So I just don't feel it as much, even though it's like the same.
Yeah. The other thing to make a note is that there are enemies. There are not a lot. There's one enemy type that's on the maps that also drop jade, so you have to like go out and find them.
Yeah.
Not great. But there's like some ways you get jade that are useful that aren't achievements or that, like they do that you can do. So I don't know. I think it's on par with Genshin. I don't think it's worse, at least for the general population. And then the story roles are at least giving you a good amount of those, so you can at least build up your roster and get other options.
Yeah, that was the perspective I needed because, like, as someone who spends a little bit on Genshin and roles, I don't have a normal. Shut up. I don't have a normal Genshin perspective, so
that's super reasonable. Go ahead.
And I think a big part of it too is that like because of Genshin being open world, there was a lot more like chests in Honkai Star Rail don't exactly give a huge amount more reward currency wise, considering how much less of them there are.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we all start lower Trailblazer level and like you don't, you get more Stellar Jade at 40 Trailblazer doing your dailies than you did at 30 even. And stuff like that. And so
but too, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then so like it helps that we're like further along in Genshin that we get more stuff from our dailies.
Yeah.
And then from there there's the not only is it gated based on your Trailblazer level, like not many people have gotten to the part where they have like the floors 9 to 12 copy of the Abyss, the Memories of Chaos.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt many people, even people who have spent on refreshes, have gotten their Trailblazer level to the point that they can get characters built up enough to do it in the first place, to finish the first 15 floors.
I mean, hell, I'm at like floor 5 right now, and I don't know that I could do floor 6. Like, yeah. I haven't even tried it yet. Like, I'm just now getting characters to 50. Like, which is like, I feel so, like, on one hand, I don't really feel super far behind because I know I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm probably vastly ahead of the majority of players. Like, even just touching down on the second world probably puts me ahead of a solid percentage of the player base right now. But like, I think that I think like, yeah, like we're all lower Trailblazer levels, and so like we have the perspective of being an end game of Genshin, and we have to kind of remember we're like mid to early game still.
Yeah, that's super fair.
Which I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I think there's something I was gonna bring up, and I don't remember what it was. Oh yeah, so like, I like at this point, like I feel like I'm fine. Like I've hit pity on the limited banner, and so I'm sitting with 2 5 stars right now. The one that was guaranteed from the beginner banner, and then my event banner one. And so I like, I don't know, I feel like I've had a fine amount of Stellar Jade income. But like
so remind me.
Oh yeah. But like, I don't know, I think it's fine for right now, but like, yeah, we'll definitely see as it goes on. Is there anything we want to talk about that's part of the game before we go on to this last section here?
I just want to say, because I forgot, the beginner banner in Genshin did not guarantee a 5-star, did it?
No, it didn't.
No.
Okay.
It
It was
not.
just it guaranteed you Noel.
Yep.
Okay.
You were guaranteed
Noel.
Noel.
Okay. I was gonna say I don't think it did because that's why
No.
I have the account that I do was because it was a reroll account.
Oh yeah, heck! I remember the reason I started. I felt like I was forced to play Genshin was my beginner. One of my second beginner banner roll gave me Jean. I was like, well, shit, the game wants me to play it.
Might as well.
It was actually Jean and like 3 out of 4 stars. It was really.
Oh my god.
Wow.
It was a great roll. But
yeah.
It was a great.
Oh, I remember now. The like March 7th. Like, and we were talking about how like the characters the game gives you or just feel more useful. Like March 7th is like an insanely good character. Like Dan is really good.
Dan is really good.
Like,
I think
the main character is good.
Main character is great.
March tier.
March 7th, I feel like at the I'm not sure if she's Puzz has opinions on March 7th, which I will not speak for him, but I also feel like the game designed the least of early parts before you got Natasha around not having a healer and having March 7th. And I think that was a good gameplay decision. There's a lot of like lock-on people who are locking onto units, which means March 7th could easily apply your shield and you would know that'd be working. And like, there wasn't like a lot of AoE or things like that. And so I feel like the game was, even if March 7th might fall off in a later game or just not be as good as other preservation units as we move forward, they did a good job of making her feel like very important early game, which I think helped a lot.
Buzz, what do you think about March 7th?
March 7th is great. She just has like probably like a really weird use case because of the whole they put both a taunt element, like an increased aggro chance, and a cleanse on her shield. So it becomes like am I supporting or am I a tank situation where like if she's tanking, she wants the shield on herself to draw the targets. But she also has like a debuff cleanse. So like, if someone gets stunned, you put it on them. If they're really hurt, you can get away with it because the taunt only works when they're above 30% HP. So it does work as like an emergency thing. But her kit becomes very much focused to like also having another tank on the team because she does really well when you have shields on everyone and not just herself. Because especially if her Eidolon, she can counter up to like 3 times, I believe, when she gets her Eidolons. So if
that doesn't mean she plays well with certain other free units you get, which is good.
Yeah, and so like her kit is just kind of all over the place, and so she's not necessarily bad. There's lots of teams that she fits well in, but she's just like of the default characters, just a little conflicting in her kit with her shield having a taunt.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then Dan's basically just your stock standard hunt character, just with the wind element.
Yeah, and he's really strong.
Yeah, he's very good. Like people were like, and I was like, man, I don't really like Dan, and then I just didn't realize they didn't understand how hunt characters worked. I'm like, oh, you only use them on things that they break. I get it now. I understand. No, I love the main character. Rules are made to be broken.
Yes.
It's the best. It's the best. I love it. I will never change it.
Objectively funny that they just hand you a bat at the beginning of the game.
It's just like you get a baseball bat. You just bonk people with it. It's the
so
best.
Great. And then all the skill names are like baseball puns or whatever, I'm pretty sure.
I know, yeah. It's amazing. I love this video game so much. What are we hoping? What are we hoping for the future? I want to talk about this first one. Let me have presets.
Oh god, yeah. Please.
It's all I want. Just let me have presets so I can switch gear on a character.
Oh,
just let me do it.
It feels more important in this game than it does in Genshin.
Yes.
Like in Genshin, it's annoying. Yeah, okay. But every time I have to do a specific thing that's a spoiler, so I won't say it, but y'all probably know what I'm saying. Every time I have to do it, I have to switch everything around and it gets actively annoying. And
it just makes me not want to do it, so I just don't.
Exactly.
I'm just like, I don't need this other element. What are you talking about? I'll just
Mhm.
stick with this one.
I will say that I am a big fan of the fact that there is an auto remove and an auto equip for relics.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah,
Those
Wait,
are
there's
really
auto
nice.
remove? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
just
there's a
press a button,
little
it just
button.
removes all the relics that they have on. It's great.
It's
Oh,
it's
my
the little
nose.
button next to the auto equip. It's the little
It's
small
not
circle
a very
button.
large button. Yeah.
Okay, good. So I'm not like
No,
insane.
I someone had to point it out to me too. I had no
Okay.
idea the button was even physically there. My eyes just completely glazed over it like
Okay,
5,000
good.
times.
It's the tiniest button.
It's
Okay,
so
I feel
small.
better. But I'm glad they have it because I will be using it a lot.
I use it all the time. Can we have fewer men?
No.
Okay, I'm just tired. Okay, my wall looks sad. in
Okay,
the corner.
actually, yes, please, fewer men. It actually is. Actually, that's a good thing. Okay.
I can hear Zig squeeing, "Stayed away." It wakes me up. Just stop, or maybe just stop dropping trailers for them when I'm trying to sleep. That's all I want.
God,
That's all I want. Just let me sleep,
Okay.
please. Thanks.
me and
I have
Zig,
no-
we
Yeah.
lost it when we were looking at the league plans for
I know.
for the game, and we were just like, Jesus Christ, we're dead. We're dead. Our wallets are dead.
Like it's
Yeah.
oh yeah, you already got my money.
The volume of
Yeah.
character leaks in this game is unreal. They have like
That's a
character
different
leaks
thing,
for
yeah.
years for some reason.
Yeah, that's not great. But
I will
Like-
say I'm staying out of the leaks and stuff,
Same.
and it has improved my experience so much. Like I was telling Ari earlier, I got to a certain point and met my man, and I wasn't expecting it. It shocked me so much I started choking. It's like, oh my god.
yeah.
So it's like, I like being detached. Like in Genshin, I was so entrenched and watching and knowing everything that's coming. And with this game, I'm just so separated, and I don't watch streams of it. I don't read like the news and stuff of it. It's just I'm so separated from it, and it's such a nice experience.
I've been avoiding leaks as well, except I was just on my phone minding my own business. And you know how like if you're on an Android, you can like swipe like all the way to the left and there's like a news feed?
Yes.
Yeah,
Sort
yeah,
of.
I'm aware.
I
Yeah.
have an Apple.
Sure.
But...
Okay, so like there's a news feed, or like if you open up Chrome or something, like there's a news feed under the thing.
Mhm,
So the very first article was a leak. It was an article on a big leak for an upcoming character, and I was mad. I was big mad.
Yeah. See, like I don't hate so much about characters because I do like to plan.
Mhm.
So that I don't mind as much, and I will actively kind of seek that out. But bosses, story elements, that's
I think it's just annoying that, and I'm sorry, Puzz, I cut you off.
There's been an interesting phenomenon too of a bunch of the voice actors have been given permission to say that they're playing characters that haven't been in the game or talked about at all in the game.
Oh, that's annoying.
So there's been a bunch of like tweets put out by people being like, I'm excited to announce that I'm voicing XYZ character in Star Rail, and me caught up is like, Whomst? Who are you voice acting?
Oh,
Where?
that's annoying.
That is
Oh.
that is
Well,
weird.
And so like I believe like one character that like technically showed up in something, that had her voice actress come out on Twitter and be like, I voiced this character, was probably the first time that character had been named because they technically appear in the background of a cinematic.
Oh
That's
my
like one of the
God.
YouTube cinematics.
That's amazing. Actually, hold on. Here's a question: does Honkai Impact 3rd have a dub? Is there an English
No.
dub?
No, this is the first
Interesting.
time that's had English, which is surprising considering it's actually one of the few games that's like translated into like Vietnamese and Thai, because of how popular it was in the mobile market there. But it never really made it in the North American market, and they figured the kind of person who would play Honkai 3rd probably would play with a a not English VA anyway.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
And that's like that's the thing. Like, I think with Genshin becoming the hit, like the big hit that it was, I think they realized, like, Star Rail, they're like, all right, we've got the casual market, we gotta make sure there's an English dub.
Yeah, and Hoyo likes to stick to their VAs, which is really nice. Definitely in Japanese, which I really, really appreciate. Akira Shida, I love you. But with their English, a lot of their English VAs, they're bringing over across their platform, and I really like that because they seem to be able to be good at picking diamonds in the rough. You know, they'll pick out a VA who hasn't had much work in the past, and then they're really good. So I'm excited.
You know, another series that actually does that, and I'm legitimately impressed by it. Xenoblade.
Really?
Jenna Coleman.
Oh yeah,
was
that was
the
great.
voice of Melia.
Uh-huh.
And she came back for Xenoblade 3, which
and that was after she was the Doctor's Companion, which was really good for her.
Yeah, like they had her come back for Future Connected, with the DLC for the Definitive Edition and Xenoblade 3. And I'm like, wow, that's like
that was good.
amazing.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, because like she was not big when she did her Xenoblade.
Yeah, she was. And then she got big.
Yeah, she got big because being Doctor's Companion is huge. So
yeah,
she's a pretty good one too. I don't know if you watched.
I have not gotten to those seasons. Yeah. I literally just finished. Yeah, I just finished Series 6 of Doctor Who. We're not going to get distracted talking about Doctor Who. I said we were going to stay on tack. No, I'm yelling at myself. Because it is time to wrap up. Does anyone have any final thoughts? Zig.
No. I think I've said my piece. I'm very pleased, and I'm excited to see where this series goes in time.
Excellent, Ronnie.
I'm excited. Again, I'm similar with Zig. Excited to see how it goes. I'm excited to see how the turn-based comic goes, and I hope. You know, there's some concerns I have, but the game's too early right now to know if they're like formed or not. So, you know, maybe in a few months or so, we'll see. Like, one of the concerns I have back in my head is, you know, are we going to start seeing dependence on elements which aren't easily accessible to people who don't roll a lot? And so, as we play along, we'll see how that goes. And if it's not an issue, that's good and fine. But you know, we'll have to see. I'm just excited to be on the ride for now and see where the plot goes and where the story goes, and if there's more trash cans to find. So, you know, things like that.
Gotta have more trash cans. Puzz.
I'm excited to see where they take it from here. There's a lot that they can do with this. Pretty interesting little world they've created. Hopefully, Wealth goes home and sees his wife and kids sometime soon. You know, he'd be abandoned to go on a milk run to see if his former high school student.
Of course, obviously, yes. I'm pumped. I would like very much for this to go well. Because I'm having a good time, and again, I think we should maybe do another follow-up of this. Do a follow-up of this. I don't know. Let's say like 6 months from now, 3 months from now. We'll see how we're feeling on it.
And how much period of time.
6 months is probably safer. That's like a few more patches. 3 months might make out patches to really get it. So.
Couple updates under its belt.
Yeah. So, everyone, this has been One More for the Road. I thank you all for listening, and thank all of you for being here. I am so happy that we had this and we were able to stay on topic, and it didn't devolve into chaos with 4 people. I was so worried.
I was very impressed. We're very well behaved.
We're all very well behaved. So thank you all for watching. Goodbye.
Bye.